14 games under 500. It is time to shut it down. Let's break it down right here on Locked On 76ers.
You are Locked On 76ers, your daily Philadelphia 76ers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On 76ers. We're your host, Keith Pompey, 76ers beat writer. I'm Kayla Santiago, sideline reporter for the Delaware Blue Coats, the 76ers NBA G League affiliate. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe wherever you're listening to podcasts. In addition, you can find us at our free daily newsletter on LockedOnDaily.com. So we're going to talk Justin Edwards and Jared Butler later in the show, but we're going to start things off with the 76ers needing to shut it down. That's my takeaway, Keith. You tweeted a poll. Where will the 76ers season conclude? 74% of fans say out of the play-in tournament. The other options are play-in tourney, first round exit, second round, or beyond. What is your takeaway on this? Do you want to see them shut it down at this point of the season?
I mean, I don't really have an opinion at this particular stage with that. I mean, I don't. And the reason being is because I feel like it's weird. Like, you go last week where everybody's saying we're right in here, we're going to do it. And then all of a sudden they lose a couple games. And then like you get, Joel says he needs surgery. Oh, well, Paul George says, or I'm here, sources are telling me that Paul George is getting injections. And I feel like right now we're starting to get a lot of excuses for people leading you to think that should happen, because players maybe don't want to play or they having excuses for their performances. So, like, to me, it's like, which one is it? Like, last week, you guys said you can make a deep run in the playoffs, and now you lose to two struggling teams, and now it's like we're banged up, we're injured. So I don't know, because I feel like if they win 3 games coming out of the All-Star break, then all of a sudden they're going to be, hey, well, why not shut it down? So I don't know. Like, I don't know, because here's my thing, Kayla. I'm going to be honest with you. I know they have they're tied for the 6th worst record in the league. But with their luck, even if they do shut it down, I still don't know if they're going to get that lottery pick, right? So right. I don't know. Like, I think they're between a rock and a hard place right now.
I don't think they get a lottery pick either if they do shut it down. I think my biggest thing when you look at it, if Joel Embiid truly needs surgery, now he did go back on that point as well, but if he does, why wait until the end of the season? Because your goals this year were championship, getting to the Eastern Conference Finals, and they're just not going to get there. And, it's interesting because we touched on this a little bit last night, and I want to kind of go back to it. Last time they won 4 straight, that was December 23rd to the 30th. They went 2-10. After winning 4 straight, from January 24 to the 29th, that was the Cavs, Bulls, Lakers, and Kings. They are now 1-7. So their trajectory going forward just hasn't been great for this team after being able to string along a couple of wins. And when you look at it right now, Paul George looked the worst he's looked in a Sixers uniform a few nights ago, only scoring 2 points. He's not 100%. Joel Embiid's not 100%. Not only that, Keith, your poll on your Twitter page, if people haven't gone and voted on it, make sure you go do, also shows that not only maybe those conversations are looming in the locker room, whatever that may be, and trying to figure out what they're going to do after this All-Star break, they're also losing the fan base a little bit too, or a lot of it, we should say. Tickets are selling for, a burger on the street at this point, and they're losing the fan base as well because right now, the 76ers, they just cannot win games. They're in it 1 week. They're not in it the next. And this has been a tough season overall. And the fans are starting to kind of go out of it too, Keith.
Yeah, I mean, they are. They are. I mean, it's but at the same time, it's I don't know. It is a wasted season, but I don't even know if I'm gonna be quite honest with you. They're going to shut it. Let's say if they shut it down, I don't know if things are going to get better next season. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you because, like right now, it looks to me that people are looking for excuses to why they're struggling. I mean, they are, and I get it, because which one is it? Like Daryl Morey came out and said Joel doesn't need surgery, right? Joe. Then the ESPN report comes out, and then afterwards, I'm talking to people close to the situation. They still keep saying he doesn't need surgery at this time, whatever that means, right? So then Paul George is like, yeah, he's good to go. You talk to him, he's like, I'm good to go. And then all of a sudden, it's kind of like he's getting injections. Well, where are the injections? Where is he being injected at? What is he being injected with? Now, again, everything could be lining up correctly, but it just seems like these are excuses to why their play is bad right about now. And, I don't know. Like, I think the problem is bigger. Like when you have a bad knee like Joel's has had and his multiple surgeries, do you think like one more surgery is going to make the knee a whole lot better? Or is just going to get just worse over time? And then Paul George, the problem is it's like he can't blow by people. So now is it because of his hand, his non-shooting hand? Is it the groin? Is it the knee? Like, what is it? So I don't know. I just look at this as an excuse, and where they think like, okay, well, these guys are going to be shut down and next year is going to get better, but they're getting older next year. I don't know. I don't know. We're talking about a 35-year-old Paul George coming back, and then a 31-year-old Joel Embiid who's probably going to get another surgery. So I don't know. I just think the window is closing.
I think there's two sides to the coin too, because when you look at it, you say, okay, well, does it make sense to shut them down, to do that, get them healthy, do what they need to do? And the other side of the coin is that maybe this is it. Maybe Paul George is washed. Maybe Joel Embiid's body can't hold up with the dominance that he wants to do. And time will tell of that. But maybe this is it. And this is something we alluded to a little bit last night too. When you look at a few years down the line, Joel Embiid might have 2, maybe 3 left, even if that. Does he get another surgery? Does he come back? Is he okay to play? Is it the same issues? Because Joel Embiid, he's been dominant. He's an MVP. He's also very injury prone at the same time. He hasn't been healthy in a playoff run. So when you look at that, if you wait one more year, what happens then? Because now they're another year older. They're another year where they're still battling with these injuries. Paul George coming in, to the 76ers team is supposed to uplift them. And I don't really see a change in shutting him down that's going to uplift them next year either. But at the same time, I see the other side of it too, because the 76ers, no matter if they get into play-in or not, or they don't get a lottery pick, they're not going to do much either way. So I do think that they should shut it down. And I truly do believe it at this point right now, because even if they get that 10th seed, they still have to win that first play-in game, and then they have to play the winner of 7 and 8, and then they have to go to the first round. I don't think there's a necessity for that right now. I think they should just shut it down, try to get these guys healthy for next year, because you're not going to go anywhere this season. It's not a win and you're in situation in the NBA. They are going to get absolutely smoked by a first seed, unless they're all healthy, unless they can get to that point, which I don't really see happening this year. So it's a conversation I think we're going to continue to have. And I'm of the belief as well that we truly won't be able to tell until after this All-Star break and seeing how this team can adjust a little bit to these games coming up. Because you're right, Keith. I mean, if they, after the All-Star break, all of a sudden they beat the Celtics, which is something they might do because they always beat the teams that you don't think they're going to beat, then they beat the Nets and, looking at it forward, the Bulls and possibly the Knicks, then people are going to start talking again, oh, well, maybe this team is healthy. Maybe they just needed some time to relax during the All-Star break, and now they're back at it. So this story could go a lot of ways in the next few weeks here in February, Keith.
Yeah, it could. I mean, but to me, it just seems like, unfortunately with this team, they have a habit of pushing the goalposts back. Like, so people, now we have an excuse. Now they need this, they need that. It's just like, I don't know. The window is just closed, in my opinion. I mean, but who knows? They could probably, if they're healthy, we'll see what they do. But I don't know.
I don't think that's going to happen. Maybe a little bit of positivity on that side, but I really don't think that's going to happen. I know some 76ers fans are going to say, well, you never know. I think we know at this point, but hey, we'll once again see what happens after the All-Star break as well. So a few good news pieces for the Philadelphia 76ers, some full NBA contracts going out there for some players that have been able to make some noise, those role players coming in that were on two ways. We'll touch on those guys on the other side and see and evaluate how their performance has been throughout this season. Before we get to that, NBA fans, get ready. The swoosh you save thanks to Dash Pass. Every time a player drops 50 points or more in a game, you score a huge deal the next day. This is something that I love, especially because I love a good DoorDash order. It's simple. When any player scores 50 or more in a game during the 24-25 NBA regular season, Dash Pass members get 50% off an order, up to $10 off the next day from noon to midnight. Here are a few ways you can take advantage of this deal. Game day feast. After an epic 50-point performance, celebrate by ordering wings, pizza, or burgers from your favorite spot delivered straight to your door. The late night cravings, whether you're staying up watching highlights or just need a little bit of a midnight snack, use Dash Pass to grab something delicious while saving big. Lunch on the go. Need a quick and easy lunch the next day with Dash Pass? You get your favorite meals with $0 delivery fees and reduced service fees. Plus, now you save even more with exclusive NBA offer. And fueling your watch party. Planning to catch the next game? Order go-to snacks and meals at a discount and get ready for more high-scoring action. Sign up for Dash Pass and be ready to save when any player scores 50 or more in a game. Dash Pass members get 50% off an order the next day. Up to $10 off. Just use the promo code NBA50 from noon to midnight after a 50-point gain on eligible orders at participating merchants. Must have an active Dash Pass account. Terms apply. Visit DoorDash.com to do more. Make sure you do that. This offer is live as well. And make sure that you go check this out today. Once again, that's DoorDash to learn more. So make sure you go check that out today. All right, so let's talk about some of maybe the positive things here. And this happened a few days or a few weeks ago, we should say. Justin Edwards gets that full NBA contract. He's also having his jersey retired at Emotep as well last night. In addition to that, Joel Embiid's there, congratulating him, everything in between. So a little bit about Justin Edwards here too. I think he has become a little bit of a fan favorite, and a lot of people like his game. He's averages 8.2 points per game, 3.2 rebounds, 46% from the field as well. And he said it was a surreal feeling being able to have this opportunity. He was an undrafted free agent, a one and done at Kentucky. And I think a lot of people, when you look at his numbers at Kentucky, he only averaged around 8 points per game. The highest category that he had was the minutes played. So people said, okay, I don't really know how, that's going to translate, but he was a really, really good high school player. He's getting his jersey retired. I was able to cover him with the Delaware Bluecoats, and he was a source of offense, shooting, a clutch player on the dribble drive. Keith, you've been able to cover Justin Edwards a little bit he's with the Sixers. How does he rank on your list of two ways that have got converted to an NBA contract? What do you like about his game, being able to really analyze it from your point of view?
I mean, he's a good player. He's a guy who, first of all, he's from Frankfurt, so I'm a river. He actually grew up around the corner from where I grew up at. Like,
oh, wow. There you go.
Up corner. Like, I'm talking about, like, I walk to the block and walk up, and that's where the house he grew up in. So Frankfurt stand up. But anyway, here's the deal. Like, this guy was the number one player in the country for a portion of his high school season. He ended up being the third-ranked player in the country. I just feel like that, when he was at Kentucky, a lot of people look at the numbers, but he was also injured, right?
Yeah.
And he was one of those guys that some people may say, hey, look, maybe he could have worked on his body a little bit more because he's just, frail guy, or maybe he could have came back for another year, but he bet on himself. So when I look at him and we talk about, G League guys and this and that. There are certain guys who went on, like who were in the G League, like Chris Middleton was one of them who turned out to be an all-star.
Right.
So you can play. I just feel like for him, the talent was always there. He just needed a team that would give him an opportunity to go out there and do it, right? And I look at him, and the one thing that stands out to me the most with him is that his personality, and he doesn't have to start to be impactful. There are certain guys who would sulk. Like you started me 7 games, and then the 8th game you want me to come off the bench. Well, what happened? He gave him 13 points. He was a part of that comeback effort that they had against Brooklyn, in the 4th quarter, like hitting big shots. Heck, Paul George passed up the last shot and gave it to him. So, when we look at it, he's a bona fide NBA player. And the thing is, there's like photos of him, blocking shots. Like, he's guarding Dame Lillard. He blocked Dame Lillard's shot. He's guarding KD. He's doing all these other things. So, he is a guy who deserves to be in the NBA. He deserves to have a good contract. I just hope that they don't try to give him one of those sucker contracts where it's like everything's minimum for like the next 5 years. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
A real deal, a real contract to let him know how much you really appreciate him.
And he's only 21 years old, too. That's the thing. He's so young. He has so much more time to grow into the player that you want him to grow into. I think his value can just keep going up. And as I alluded to, when he was playing on the Blue Coats, you looked at him as, okay, he is their top scorer. He is their best player. He's who you want to run the offense from. And head coach Mike Longobardi, who coaches the Blue Coats, who spent a ton of time in the NBA as an assistant as well, really just said that Justin Edwards is a big piece to what they were doing out there in Delaware and that he would be able to run the offense. And the other thing he said is sometimes you forget how young he is. He's only 21 years old. He has that confidence. He has that maturity about him. And that's something important because he had some time with the Blue Coats where he was the main guy, where he was one of the stars on the team, where he was getting all the minutes, all the shots, going to the 76ers, as you alluded to, spending some time in that starting lineup, being out of that starting lineup, getting the ball at the end, maybe not. And he's had to fill a lot of different roles, and he's been able to step up to the challenge. So I think it's somebody the 76ers look at and say, this could be another key piece as a role player for the future. I just hope they don't dish him off too quickly in the next year or so, because it seems like with a lot of young talent, that's what they do. But they do still have Ricky Council, who last year was a 2-way, and they ended up giving him the standard NBA deal as well. So Justin Edwards, I think, can be a key piece in the role player value to this team, in addition to having to step up in the starting lineup if needed as well. And he's only going to get better. Once again, just 21 years old. So out of the 2-ways, Keith, before, we get to Jared Butler, I think he was one of the players you look at and you say, if it was anybody, it was going to be Justin Edwards, because what he can provide, the versatility, and also just the youth in his game and how he can grow from there.
Yeah. I mean, he's a good asset. I mean, he's a good pick. I mean, I think that the good thing about Justin is when you think that you have a team that's capable of winning a championship or being a contender, he's the type of guy that you need to come in off the bench and do certain things, right? I'll tell you, his teammates love him. He's a funny guy. He's down to earth. He's a big role model to a lot of youth in Philadelphia, especially, basketball players in Philadelphia. They love this guy. And I just feel like he's a good fit. Now, I'll be honest with you. He's fortunate, though. Fortunate that Caleb Martin and KJ Martin became injured. Fortunate that Yabusele got hurt a little bit, because what that did is, it enabled him to get some run and play, and he took advantage of the opportunity because, he showed that he's a bona fide NBA player. But, I kind of feel like if Caleb and KJ were still playing, he would be a guy just putting up a lot of big numbers in the G League, but not getting the opportunity to show what he could do in the NBA.
100%, because you can be talented and you can work hard, but a little bit of luck does have to play a factor. And with the 76ers being depleted this season, the injuries, everything in between, they needed to bring their two ways up for one. In addition, when one was able to show out like Justin Edwards, they give him that standard NBA deal. So Justin Edwards, once again, now no longer the two-way player. In addition to that, too, we're going to touch on another current 76er at the moment that also got a standard NBA deal on the other side. Before that, we have to tell you about FanDuel. When the game tips off, the NBA action is getting started, and there's no better place to get on it than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game, so even if you missed the opening tip-off or want to bet on a fourth quarter comeback, you can stay in the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay. I love using FanDuel's live betting feature because it keeps every moment of the game exciting. Whether I'm backing my team for a late game rally or picking a player to hit a clutch three, I never feel like I missed my chance. Plus, the app is easy to use, and when you win, you get paid instantly. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, so Jared Butler, not Jimmy Butler, people. Jared Butler for the Philadelphia 76ers, that standard NBA contract through 3 games after joining the Sixers, of course, via trade. He averages 10 points, 4.7 assists, and just 17.1 minutes. He's definitely had some flashes, and I think the moment that I remember Jared Butler from is not when he was on the 76ers, is when he was on the Wizards and put 26 points on the 76ers. How do you feel about this deal being moved to a standard NBA contract, Keith? Do you feel that he's done enough in his short time here with the 76ers? And what else can he provide from your point of view?
You know, I think he has done enough. I mean, think about it. When you think that the 76ers gave up a veteran player and a first-round pick for this guy, you kind of figured that he was going to get a standard deal because it looked crazy, right? You're giving up all this for a guy who's on a two-way contract. And you look at him, you know, the last game that he played, he had 8 points and 9 assists. He didn't shoot the ball particularly well. He was, I believe, 2 for 9, 2 for 7. But he was getting dimes and things like that. But when you look at it overall, he's averaging 10 points, 4.7 assists, and 2.7 rebounds in 3 games since they acquired him. And you knew that they were going to convert him. They had to. And not only that, there was a point where, he was going to run out of time. He was going to run out of minutes and run out of games played because as a two-way guy, you're going to play an X amount of games. Right. I look at him now as kind of like as an insurance policy. Kyle Lowry has been banged up all season, injured. So you really didn't have a healthy point guard, backup point guard for Tyrese Maxey. And so I felt like in order for what they gave up because of the situation with Kyle, I felt like he was going to get one quick, fast, in a hurry, and he did.
Yeah, he did. And you can only play about up to 50 games as well in terms of that two-way deal. So the 76ers wanting to lock that in. And, once again, this stuff doesn't really happen if the 76ers remain healthy, if they don't make those trades happen, so on and so forth. But these are guys that are stepping up and looking better than your stars. And Paul George having 2 points a few nights ago, Jared Butler coming in and just trying to make his impact felt. And he absolutely did in the passing game. I also like kind of the 2-man game of him and Quentin Grimes a little bit. We saw that a few nights ago as well. So I think it's a good deal. The first glimpse that I really saw of him was when the 76ers played the Wizards, and he had 26 points in that game. And, consistently throughout the broadcast, they were saying, well, because of all the injuries, he's finally getting a chance to play. He's the two-way guy. They have an opportunity to be able to have him go in there and make an impact. And he kind of also shocked the Wizards community as well. And then you bring him over to the Philadelphia 76ers on the trade, and he's been able to show a lot of different things. And these are the players, too, that you wanted the 76ers to be able to have behind them if this team was able to do something with their stars to win consistently, because you always need those guys that are going to go out there, be more of a plus on the floor. Jared Butler and Justin Edwards have been able to do that. The issue has been the stars are not aligning. And I mean that literally in terms of Joel Embiid, Paul George, and Tyrese Maxey all at the same time. The big three is not doing the job that it needs to do. So I do think this is a good deal for the Philadelphia 76ers. How much does it mean for the team going forward? That I don't know at this point, but I do think it means a lot to these guys to be able to show that they were able to put a lot out there and be able to get on these Sanders deals. So I like it a lot. I think the 76ers made a good way with Justin Edwards and Jared Butler going forward as well. You never know what can happen. We've talked about that too here, Keith. But at the same time, I mean, Jared Butler is somebody that hurt the Sixers when he was playing against them before, and now they get to have him on his side.
Yeah, and you're right. Like the grand scheme of things, like you look at, Jared Butler, and you say to yourself, like, how much is he, going to help him? Like, does he help him win a championship? Is he the piece that's going to get him over the hump? No, it's not. But at the same time, I just felt like they gave up so much for him, and he is the backup point guard right now that you basically had to do it. But my question is, how do you feel if you're Jeff Doughton? I mean, honestly, like, you're yeah. Jeff Doughton. Last year they converted your contract from a two-way to an NBA standard deal. They waive you at the end of the season. You basically are with them for one summer league, and next thing you know, they ask you to come back for the following summer league, and then they sign you to another two-way. Now, Jeff Doughton is playing in the G League All-Star game at All-Star Weekend. No one else is. He's playing in that. So if you're him, I wonder how does he feel when he looks at it. And, not only did Butler come here and take his spot, Butler has a standard NBA deal, and you're on the two-way, but you're a G League All-Star. So, my question is, like, what's that dynamic going to be like in a locker room?
Yeah, that has to be tough too, because Nick Nurse is somebody that also was really high on Jeff Doughton for a lot of time. And it just seemed like it really wasn't working out for him anytime he was really with the Sixers. He had some games that he played well, but it just seemed, a little bit out of sorts. But then he goes down to the NBA G League with the Delaware Bluecoats, and he's putting up double-doubles when you blink an eye. He's their best player. He's the player that they run the offense through. He's the player that can bring them back when they're down. So, when the Delaware Bluecoats, they're a team that might also be trying to compete a little bit in this postseason, and they're happy. I'm sure that they have Doughton being able to play on their team, but at the same time, it's got to be tough for them as well. The Delaware Bluecoats sway on the outside looking in at 7-13 in the regular season, but yeah, it's got to be tough. I can't imagine that dynamic in the locker room, especially because him and Justin Edwards played such a good duo down in Delaware and Wilmington at Chase Fieldhouse. So it's going to be interesting because that's definitely got to be tough. For one way, you want to say, okay, well, I get to be in an all-star game and I'm still playing professional basketball, but then you're kind of putting in that work and Jared Butler comes in and rises above a little bit. He fits in more, I think, a little bit with the 76ers, but that's definitely got to be tough from Jeff Doughton's point of view. So we will wait and see, too, what these two-ways are able to bring, converted two-ways, we should say, that are now on standard NBA deals. Once again, it's the All-Star break. So right now for the 76ers, they have some time to figure things out. When we look at it, the 76ers at 20-34, they're tied with the sixth worst NBA team in all of the NBA as well. When we look ahead to their schedule, it doesn't get much easier. When they return from the All-Star break, they have the Celtics. That's Thursday, February 20th. We'll, of course, be with you guys after that game as well. And we'll see what All-Star weekend comes about. I know Jared McCain's down there. The 76ers, they definitely miss him right now. And, of course, as you alluded to, Jeff Doughton in the NBA G League All-Star game. Former 76er and Delaware Bluecoat Mac McClung also out there. Going to do the dunk contest once again, this time for the Osceola Magic. So it'll be a fun All-Star weekend. No 76ers really making a huge presence there, but we will have games following the All-Star weekend as well. Thank you all so much for tuning in to Locked On 76ers with Keith Pompey. I'm Kayla Santiago saying so long, and we will see you guys next time right here on Locked On 76ers.